Hey guys, it's Diesel Queen here. Welcome to another episode of the Diesel Queen podcast. Today I have a very special guest in here that I've known for years. Her name is Missy, or she goes by Missy. She is an electrical guru when it comes to semis, and she's worked on international as a professional mechanic for a long time. So, Missy, if you would like to introduce yourself, and then you can go right into your origin story and just tell us all about you.
Sure. Okay, so I'm Missy, DieselGirl Online, and I've been in the industry for 23 years. Currently, I'm working at Taylor and Lloyd, and I'm their lead diagnostic technician. I am a senior tech as well. There's a couple of us, so it's really nice. I began in the industry by lying to my mom and telling her that I'm at Megan's house when I'm at Frankie's house learning how to do brakes and subwoofers and systems and all that stuff. So I was getting in trouble for trying to work on cars when I was a teenager. From being a teenager, I said, screw this. I'm just going to do Jiffy Lube. I want to be with a dealership for the rest of my life. So I already had a goal set that I want to be OEM. Um, I went to Jiffy Lube and I ended up not really liking cars as much as I wanted to. I found my biological parents, because I'm adopted, and they owned a trucking company. And I started getting the interest through there, and with the spark of my younger years, and then just seeing trucks and everything was big. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need it. So I actually was going to school for graphic design, and I was in my ethics class, and I was listening to all the Jake breaks go by, and I just like felt it inside of my soul. I needed to be there. So I finished up my second semester and I started changing oil, changing brakes, working for my stepdad, which was really, really awesome because there were a lot of mechanical engines. Like I didn't know anything. He didn't allow me to touch a grinder, didn't allow me to touch electric. I was doing engine electric. There wasn't really
Yeah.
much of it, but I would do like lights and stuff and junction box and trailers and so forth like that. I didn't really have a passion for that. I really fell for being able to take air valves apart and rebuild them, reconfigure them to like the way they're supposed to work for the vehicle and application that you're on. I thought that was even cooler because it was piquing like a mechanical interest because I always wanted to be a mechanic when I was younger. And it's just funny because I actually consider myself more of like a technician than a mechanic, and I still work on like my mechanicking skills. So I ended up going into school bus, IC school bus dealership. And it was very cookie cutter. I learned warranty. I was a manager. I did service support technician. So I did every single recall that they had on all the school buses, traveled in it, and it was awesome. But I needed something more. And I
Yeah.
didn't quite know exactly what that was. So what happened was is I had like a really awesome cross paths, like crossroads in my life where I was getting a divorce. I needed to change my entire life over, and I demoted myself to a technician, to a mechanic. And and that's basically what happened in 2000. I think it was like 13. I took myself out of the role, a management role that did do warranty, but again, warranty is not doing brakes or diagnostics. Like you're literally just changing parts, the same part over and over and trying to beat times. It gave me a little skill, like not breaking stuff and knowing when things are tight, knowing jam nuts and different things like that.
Yeah.
But I needed more. I did a lot of installs and such. I like new installs, but again, it's still cookie cutter. Like I needed more. So ended up working at a dealership for international trucks, and the applications are endless, and PTO is endless, and electrical is endless, and problems are endless, and there's headaches that technicians create, and there's problems that just arise out of sheer rooting or just needing maintenance in general. And yeah, it just like that is what turns my world right there is just working on trucks and diagnosing. And the building that I work for right now, it wasn't the best journey. I worked there for 10 years, and I have stuck through thick and thin, as they did also for myself, through pregnancy, through harassment, through poisonous people. And, my company right now is one of the best companies in the network, and we thrive. I love the guys around me. I can't even explain how grateful for my world is like today, after going through the hurdles my entire life. Like, I finally am very satisfied and I feel successful just having people around me that respect me, support me. They want to ask for my help if they don't know something. They don't have this ego, or there's not, they just want to take the information in and learn from me. And I love that so much. And what a difference it is from being in the early 2000s, in
Yeah.
2000 itself, 1999, 2000, that's when I was doing the stuff, to like now. And I'm like, it's just, the industry has completely changed the mindset. There's still old mindset, of course, but it's evolving it just as fast as the technology in these last 5 years.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I wasn't obviously working in the 2000s, but I've even noticed a change from like location, right? Like the
Mhm.
difference in the people that I worked for and worked with in the western part of the United States, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, is a lot different than the people that I've interacted with here. And I'm not going to disclose my state, but here in the eastern side of the country. And you are also in the eastern side of the country. So like
Yeah.
I literally, before I moved to the eastern side of the country, which by the way, everyone, I'm well aware that technically I live in the Midwest, but anything that's east of the Mississippi to me is the East. Okay. But um I I I, li- I literally thought for the longest time, because of where I worked in Wyoming and Colorado, that all of these horror stories of like sexism and inappropriate men and all this stuff, I literally thought was just like either very, very few and far between and blown way out of proportion, or just wasn't even true and somebody was just trying to use a girl card, right, to
Yep.
whatever. Like I literally thought that, like, I'm like, this is doesn't even sound like, where are you guys working? Because I've never experienced, like, never really been turned down for a job. I've never been turned down for a job because I'm a woman. I've never
Right.
had issues at a job because I'm a woman, with the exception of having privileges, which I call it positive sexism, is what I call that, which I also don't like because you know I
Positive
just want to be
sexism.
treated like the men, you know? Like, I don't want special privileges or anything like that besides my own
Right,
bathroom, right?
right,
Like,
of
give me my own
course.
fucking bathroom. But
Yeah.
like,
Oh my God.
I
Yes.
literally thought that I was like, I literally thought these women were just making shit up, or
Yeah.
like blowing it out of proportion, right? Like they just didn't know how men operated and they were just blowing shit out of proportion
Uh,
until I moved here. And not only did have I had issues with men here, but actually the biggest issue I've had here is with a woman. So like this whole side of the
mhm.
country is so much harder. Like I didn't realize the difference between the cultural differences between where I grew up and here. You tell someone you're a female mechanic where I'm from and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's cool, whatever." Like, good for you. You tell someone that here and they're like, "What? You're a
Yeah.
what?" And it's not necessarily a bad thing all the time, but it's so much less common for women to be in a trade around here that it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like behind in the times. Everybody thinks that Wyoming
It
and
is.
Colorado and that area, it's like old school, right? But we're actually ahead of the times when it comes to women in
Yeah.
the industry and women in the trades than this part of the freaking country.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to find girls. I'm finding quite a few that's over in my area now, and I would love to start like a chapter just to get some girls together. Um It's weird because I definitely think demographics definitely has a role in it. It's funny because I've been in Texas and I felt more supported in the southern area. Maybe it was just the people that I was surrounded by in those moments. I genuinely think that, you know, people's mindsets have changed, but people haven't seen it as much. So like where there's like a girl like you and I, we're more a little bit more petite to a larger man, and you know, there's different ways that we can maneuver our bodies into areas to do things that a guy just absolutely cannot do.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and so I think what happens is then when you find a man that actually watches a woman do their work and kind of overcomes like this curiosity of like, well, how does she do that? Like it's kind of
Mhm.
heavy, or how does her brain really work like that? Because like sometimes I think when people question my ability of diagnostics, they're like, how did you get to the answer? Well, like to me it's logical, like it's critical thinking, some theory based, you know, like just like how you would get to the answer, right? Like that's
Mhm.
how, you know, I think that we all get to the same answer. Why do you ask how I get? I don't know.
I
So
mean, I have
sometimes like I
ADD, so my
me too.
diagnostic skills when I'm working on something, so I have two issues when I'm trying to diagnose it. I either go way off in a bunch of random different places, checking all kinds of, I should really just have no order in it at all, and I probably should. Or I am so hyper focused on what I think it is that I spend too much time on that. But yeah, it's our brains are no different from the guys when it comes to that. Like some of us are gonna be like you, who's oh, hold on. Did it tell you that your recording is stopped or is it still recording?
No, oh, it's yeah, it just did a new recording.
Okay. I don't know
My
what's
I
going
just had a
on.
phone call coming in. I thought I shut
Oh,
off all, I
okay.
silenced everything.
You're good. I just want to make sure it was working. But like I what I've tried to explain to people so many times is like women are no different than the men when it comes to our skill sets, right? Some of us are
Yeah.
going to have stronger skill sets in some things. Some of us are going to be weaker in some things. For example, I can do electrical diagnostics, but you are far surpassed me on that, right? And you will always be far surpassed me on that. Just the way your brain works and how you understand it is better than me, which is, it's fine because that's how shops work, honestly. You need someone that's super really good at diagnosis, and you need someone who's really understanding it hydraulics, or maybe someone who really understands engines. Like everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. And I've always told people, like, you know how many people I've ran into that think that just because you're a woman, you're like God's gift to the world, and you're like you're gonna do like magic. Like it's not what people think it is. It's not
Yeah.
the, oh, she can't do this, right? It's, oh, I
Yeah.
don't trust her to work. It's like they just expect you to poof magic because you're a girl, because they just think you're gonna be miraculously good at it. And it's like, okay, well, no. First of all, we're just like the
Yeah.
men. We're just a little
Yeah.
smaller,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
Melissa has a little
People
ADD, but my
people
bosses that like I always work with the bosses that once they figured out how I worked, because I do have a little bit of ADD, they would
Mhm.
use it to their advantage, and they would give me a really big job and then like 30 small jobs. So I could just
Yeah.
do like bounce back and forth between all the shit, because if I have like only one big job or two big jobs and no other little things about, I start on way too many things at once and then it never gets done.
Yep. No,
But
that's what I do. That's what I love so much. And like so again, same idea, like, but I'll have multiple jobs and then technicians, other mechanics will pull me off of my job. Hey, can you just do this for a second? Or hey, can you do that for a second? And like it actually keeps me focused strangely, because I in the back of my head I know what I have to do. But you know, like those moments where you have to sit back and think about some diagnostics, like straight out there has to be some thought, and I like to think about those jobs on other jobs when I'm doing and diagnosing other jobs. I like to have multiple things going on, and then when I get that light bulb moment, I'm like, ding, punch off this job, go back on that job, and complete, you know, whatever the diagnostics is that I was like kind of like looking for. You know, I like that much about it, and I do love big projects because it's like two parts to my life. So a big project for me would be like ASMR, straight up, like rebuilding anything is truly ASMR. And it's like I got paid to do that, which is the craziest thing in the
Right?
world. And it's so satisfying, and then it's gratifying, and then you get to drive it and you're like, I did that. And
Yep.
like what more, like internally and brain wise, like all those great chemicals that go on that make you feel so good, and then you get to drive this stuff. I mean, it's just insane the way that if you look at this industry as like a burden, like, oh, I have to go in, I have to pull these wheels, or oh, I have to pull this whole entire dash apart, or like going into a job like that, like in it's like miserable. And like
Yeah.
every single Monday I get to work and I'm like, yeah, like my Monday is like a
Mm.
Friday. like, what's next? How many you got? Line it up.
I get that way. Like I have my moments where I'm like, fuck this machine, fuck this job. I want to quit. Why did I choose this to do as a living? This was a horrible fucking life choice. I get those. But for the most part, I get the same way. I'm like, you mean I get to do an engine? Like I remember one time when I was working in Fort Collins, Fort Rivers, and he like the foreman was giving me a list of machines that I could do next. And he's like, "Oh, we got this, and this." He's like, "But we do have a 470 excavator. Nobody else really wants to touch it." And I'm like, "Well, why? What's wrong with it?" And he's like, "Oh, it just needs like an inspection, and it might need some like a cylinder or something." Like, but I mean, for the most part, it's a rental return. And I'm like, I will take the big machine. I like driving those. This gives me the perfect opportunity to go dig with it in the dirt pile. Give it to me. And he's like, "For real? You're going to just take this off my hands without bitching about it?" And I'm like, yeah, I would rather have that than the piece of shit little skid steer you were trying to give me earlier. Yes, give me that thing." And
Yeah.
so that's what he would do. Then he started giving me the big jobs because in that particular shop, there was only a few mechanics out of a bunch that were even willing to do those, let alone were proficient at it. So,
Yeah.
and that wasn't even that big of a job. It was just a big machine and people didn't want to work on it. I'm like, give it to me. I'll do it. I'll do it. And I'll like have my fun with it. And I'll just enjoy that I'm getting to drive around a big excavator.
Yeah, I love that so much. Like, so what happened for me when I was younger, I had this guy that was mentoring me, and this is before, like, so we have SPNs, DTCs, FMIs and stuff like that for your codes, and they kind of like channel you down into like your paths and such of like your diagnostics. And this guy was teaching me when I was younger. He would give me a big sheet diagram and he'd be like, here's your colored pencils, here is your problem. I need 3 paths tomorrow when you come in. And if you want to try to solve your problem and give like, a hypothesis like, oh, this is what I think it is, he's like, write that down also. So I would do this all the time for like 3 years. It was so much fun. He would randomly just give me a problem and be like, please solve it. They weren't real problems though. But they could have been,
Yeah.
hypothetically in real life. So I felt like that training was my foundation for what they call FMIs. So I ended up writing an article for that because I'm kind of passionate, a little over passionate for this 20. There's only like 23 like numbers where you have like SPNs, you have thousands of numbers.
Yeah.
People, I don't know if you go online, but I'm just going to say what drives me crazy is if I'm going to try to look at somebody trying to solve like a problem online and they're like, hey, my truck's doing this. I have SPN, like just generically 1, 2, 3, 4, and FMI like 0 or something. I'm like, well, I don't know that code. Like, do you have a description? And people like genuinely think like online when you're trying to help or do diagnostics, like you're looking at this like SPN code. So I found like in my diagnostics, that if you look and narrow your path onto this FMI number, that you can actually figure out your diagnostics a little bit better. And you have like F caps. I don't know if they had F caps or like anything to generally bring you down paths, like when you're doing your big equipment. Like, did they, when you were actually trying to solve problems and you had a code or a problem, did they give you like, hey, you try this step, try that step, try this step to try to narrow
Yeah.
down your path?
So I generally know what you're talking about with your codes thing because Wyotech did kind of teach us that stuff. But with John Deere specifically, they don't have like that level of breakdown of codes. It's very
Hmm.
John Deere specific. You cannot type in a John Deere code and have it pull up a code for a Caterpillar. It's John Deere specific, but they do have
Right.
diagnostic steps, right? And what I learned in the industry with diagnosis, especially with hydraulic and electrical, because let's be honest, hydraulic is basically electrical.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. It's the same concept just with fluid instead of electrons. Like it's the same.
Yeah.
But what I learned is okay, the very first time you go to diagnose something, especially when you're new in the industry, you take the step by step by step by step by step that John Deere gives you. And then once you start learning the theory of operations and how they actually work, then you can go through and kind of skip certain steps based on your knowledge of what the code probably is. Or what I also learned is from all my older mechanics is keep it simple. Do the simple shit
Yeah.
first. If you can check the easy shit first without needing parameters from a previous test, do the easy shit first because that will save you a lot of fucking time because John Deere is not super perfect. Like sometimes I've been working on a John Deere and it's like, oh, rip this apart and check, and it's like, wait, this is step 2. No, how about we go over all this other shit and look at this other shit
Yes.
before I start ripping shit apart.
Yes. Yes.
But it
I
takes a
so agree.
lot of trial and error to get there. And it
Yeah.
takes a lot, like I've always told new technicians with diagnostics and things like that, or even teardowns and assemblies and shit. Don't get ahead of yourself. If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know what you're looking at, read the theory of operation first and then really dive in, like just go literally step by step by step by step and do it right. It's going to take a lot of time to do it that way, but if you once you learn how to do that shit and you get a better understanding of it, you can start making time on it later.
Right.
Learn how to do it
Right.
right the first time, and then I think all of us learned the lesson the hard way about taking shortcuts when we
Yeah.
probably shouldn't have taken shortcuts and we didn't know what the fuck we were doing, but we thought we did. Yeah.
I am telling you, I literally just did that the other day. Of course, I always try to squeeze into everything. But the new Cummins ISBs, their CM2450, it's just the same as the CM2350, just an upgraded model of the module of the ECM. But they're making like sloped hoods, and they have this air filter box that sits right on top of the valve cover. So it's like, I feel like when I'm working on a Cummins engine, like for me, especially an ISB or an ISL, that you have everything like right there, and anything that kind of goes wrong, it's like I call them the one-handed EGR valves. Like you got your 10 millimeter and zap, 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 like, and you like take the EGR valve off, like in comparison to like the international EGR valve, like you're breaking that out possibly.
I've done those. Yeah. I've done those. They
But the
fucking suck.
They do. They do. They're horrible. But this bracket holding this air filter box in, it has these rubber bushings. And if you don't line them up, the tension on it, like you'll never get that box on. So you literally have to like loosen up all the brackets underneath. And I was like, well, instead of loosening them up and taking everything apart, I'm just going to like take it apart from under here, take off these bolts and these bolts, and maybe I can just lift the whole assembly off.
Yeah.
No, it didn't work like that. So I literally did the job of taking the air filter box off of the valve cover inside out, literally, because I was just assuming that I could just lift it off like a whole. No, not easy. And I'm like, why are they doing this
Sometimes
to
it
us?
does though. that's where it gets you, is sometimes you can find a faster, easier way of doing it. That's
That's
the
why I'm still
problem.
doing it.
Yep. I've had those where like I've been able to fucking smoke the men's time on a specific job because I can reach back into places and get shit that they can't. And then I've
Yep.
fucked myself royally hard trying to do shit like that and then wasting a bunch of fucking time because I really thought I was smart enough
Ah.
that I knew what it was going on.
Oh my god! Like 5 years ago, I had this kid. He was petite like me, but man, he could. He wasn't even a mechanic. He just came and he became a mechanic. But the thing he had was this ability to look at something and know how to take it apart. And I didn't have the skill set that he has. So I'd be taking things apart and doing things. It's like, why didn't you take apart this and this first? Because you're gonna have an easier time getting in there. And I would see him out of the corner of my eye walking by, shaking his head like that. And I ended up already programming myself like, ah, fuck, I'm doing something wrong. And I'd have to step back and be like, all right, so how am I taking this apart? He's shaking his head. I know that means something. And I get like a
Yep.
complex. And I'm like, all right. And then, it gives me an opportunity to reassess. But you always kind of need, I feel like you can never be the top in your shop, because I feel like you need to have not like a competition, but somebody to look up to, or like help you achieve like higher goals than
Yeah.
possibly just your own personal times or something like that. But yeah, this kid was one of those ones. Like, he wasn't into diagnostics or electrical, but he was like one of those kids that had a skill that like I really admired, and that head shake was like, oh damn, I'm doing something. Where is it? What am I missing? But yeah, those moments, I still get those. And it's funny because I just want to get to that connector. That's it. If I could just get to the place in the back of the motor where I can just wiggle in without taking anything off, the world's good. But on some chassis, it's just that you can't, you have to do
Yep.
it. And it sucks.
Equipment harnesses are not better, by the way. They're not better. They're a fucking
Yeah.
disaster. They're a disaster. A lot of them run underneath fuel tanks or above fuel tanks in a lot of cases, which means you have to drop the fuel tank to pull them out. It's a fucking cunt. Or it's so the specific PIP that I'm talking about, which is John Deere's version product improvement program, which is a really fancy way of saying recall. Um, they have a PIP for, it's a three-part PIP or something like that, and like it can be either just the attenuator lines for the hydrostatic pumps on the graders, but it can also include a new bracket for a specific I think it's X10 or X11 connector. And so you either have to do just the hydraulic lines or the hydraulic lines and the bracket for the big circle bulkhead connectors, or you have to do the entire fucking rear platform harness. And I've done all three of those, unfortunately.
Oh,
That rear platform harness was the biggest motherfucking pain in the ass. I had to remove the fuel tank. Like, you can't reach your fucking hand in there to get anything. They're all tight as shit. The nut on that bulkhead is like this freaking big. It's and it's why is it so tight? Why is it that tight? Explain to me why this thing is torqued down like Hulk himself torqued it down. Yeah,
oh
but
my
I
god,
got
I
it.
totally get that. It's so funny.
You have to be
Yeah,
a
it's a pain. I
contortionist to get it out, but I
yep,
got it.
yep. Yeah, I mean, any harness in general, like, I know it's a lot different with equipment, like, but just alone in trucks from generation to generation, like, I've had jobs where people bought the wrong harness, and I was able to get the opportunity to actually, investigate and look and how do I blend this harness with another one. And I just had a really cool job the other day. So on the international engines with the single box 2 connector DLC1, which is going to be the non EGR engine, and the EGR engine DLC2, the 2000, the one I would love for a daily driver, 2004 to 2006. They have an overlay harness that goes on your accelerator pedal. and it's such a well-known failure for these engines. I mean, it's no biggie or anything, but they make a really nice overlay harness, and you open up the box and it comes with like a nice diagram, and it shows you how to pin it for both engines. It's different, it's really cool. Love those jobs all day long. They're just cake, right?
Yeah.
And I got a Cummins ISB guy came in. He's like, listen, I'm a mechanic. I love these ones. And
Yeah.
I replaced my pedal and it didn't work. I want you to overlay my harness. That's it. No diagnostics, nothing. So I ended up having the opportunity to not find the diagram. So I had to figure it out myself, which was awesome. And for that opportunity alone and having the understanding, the skill set that I was able to take from like this job to that job transferred over. And I was able to, understand like the circuit without having it written down. And I ended up writing it down, verified it, and then was able to find we have interactive schematics which are awful. Like there's no way that you can get to where you want to get to like easily. it's
Something that
it's
the engineers
awful.
thought was awesome and it's fucking sucks.
Yeah, I mean it is awesome like if you're into that thing, but when you're on a time crunch and your navigation skills are just lacking in that department, it's like, well, I just need it now. Quick resistance check, like let's do signal circuit 5 for your VREF, and like VREF split down to my after treatment for the accelerator pedal. Blew my mind. I was like, this is awesome. So I was able to like, I don't know, it was just really cool to be able to take like an international, job and concept, and then transfer those skills onto like a Cummins engine. And I don't know, it was just like really cool, to be able to do that. And it all kind of like how did you get there to be able to do shit like that? And like that's some of the questions like I get from people, and it's like, well, I just same like you. I ripped out a bunch of engine harnesses over the years.
Yep.
I ripped them out. I looked at them, see how bad they were rooted, and just kind of put all those things together. And after so many years of doing it, you just come to like this level, and you're like, yeah, I can do that confidently. I can take those wires and do that
I,
without sweating it.
I should have you take the wiring harness for my truck and take all the loom off and look at it and make sure it's fucking all fancy and nice and good. I
I'm
got a
telling you, I
job for
will.
you. You
I
like
will.
wiring harnesses. I got a job for you.
Yeah, I had somebody on Facebook send me out one of their engine harnesses. I did a cute little TikTok with it, and I did a load test down every single circuit, checked and rebuilt any connector that needed to be rebuilt, and rewrapped it. And it was just like it was mwah, beautiful. I loved it so much. It wasn't his problem, but he got a nice harness built out of just it was awesome. And it was my first like job that I took online. I actually felt really bad for the guy because he was being shuffled around. But yeah, it was just such a cool opportunity to do that. So yeah, I'm gonna have to come over. We're gonna have to like hang out and play with your truck.
I'm down. I got, well, first of all, I need your little like expertise here of the difference. So I have two harnesses for that truck. One of them is the original harness off the
Hmm.
original engine. One of them is off the donor engine. Now, I did not think there was any difference at all in these engines until I went to go and bolt the starter up
Mm.
when I was done with it, and the starter was hitting the flywheel, and I'm like, what the fuck? I have no
Uh,
idea. I could not find an answer online. If there was a difference in the bell housings between the manuals or the automatics, or maybe it was just too early of a year or something like that, but I ended up having to take a spacer off of my second gen and bolt it to that bell housing for my third gen to fit my fucking starter. But I would love to like I have an electrical issue with my truck and I cannot seem to fucking put my finger on it. I've replaced a bunch of shit. I've tested a bunch of shit. I don't fucking know what's going on with it. It's well, part of the problem is like I have aftermarket shit. So that makes
mm.
shit a lot harder. But I would love to
Uh,
just eliminate the harness as a problem
Right.
and take my
Right.
old harness or the other harness that I have and completely relume it and completely redo all the connectors and all the pins and check everything and install that because I already have the harness. So it
Right.
would
Right.
be
Right.
like, I know I should probably do a little bit more. It's intermittent though, that's the problem. And
Yeah.
that's what makes it hard. And there's no rhyme or reason. So what it is it's a P0299 code, which is low boost conditions code.
Uh-huh.
And what that does is it defuels my engine. So then I actually have a low boost problem, right? Because now I don't have any fucking fuel. And it basically derates my truck.
Oh
And
God.
my truck doesn't have any emissions on it, so it's not anything like that. But like I've looked at the I've replaced the air temperature sensor, I've replaced the maps sensor, which is in the manifold. There's not actually a boost pressure sensor. What it
Mm-hmm.
does is it has the manifold pressure and then it has a barometric pressure outside and then it
Yeah.
takes the difference and gives you boost. Um,
Yeah.
I've checked for boost leaks. My turbo's brand new and fine. But it just randomly will come up and then stays on until I drive it a little bit and have a certain, like, I haven't figured out exact number of key cycles or the exact runtime
Yeah.
that it needs, but it does end up clearing and poof, going away. I've
Wow.
looked through the harness, I've looked through some shit. I've looked at like, so the turbo has supposed to have like an electronic actuator.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the new one doesn't. And it just comes with a little resistor that plugs into that.
Right.
But if the
Yeah.
resistor was bad, and I tested the resistor, and I tested the resistance in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I sent it to the company that sent me the turbo, and I'm like, hey, is this the specification? And they said, yes, that is accurate.
Yeah.
So I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. My harness
Right.
isn't in great shape, but it doesn't make any sense to where like it literally it's so fucking intermittent. I tried the wiggle test. I tried
Yeah.
sitting in there and wiggling my harness around and yanking on shit and nothing.
Uh
I
yeah,
don't
I
fucking know.
those things, those are crazy because like even with that, if it do you have, is it a 3-wire sensor or is it 2 wires
For which sensor?
for well for I guess for all of them because you said so it's calculating the number for boost,
Yeah.
right? Is what you're saying? Yeah,
The
like you know what, I wonder if like you have any, do you have like a diagram?
That's another problem. I cannot find a wiring diagram for that truck
Like
to save
what
my
if you
fucking
do
life.
have, what if you have another component somehow connected that could
That's what
be
I would love
like
to know.
pulling
And
it
the
down?
forums are not helpful. I went on 2 or 3 wild fucking goose chases because
Mm.
somebody in the forums is like, "Oh, this ties into this, and there's a bolt connector within the harness here, and there's fucking not." I went on a few goose chases with that. It would be really fucking helpful if I had a diagram for that engine, but I don't.
Yeah.
So I'm literally
Yeah.
just trying
Oh
to
my
go off of
God.
Google, which is not helpful. Like, you can't trust the information you're getting from Google.
No, that's true. And of course you have to when you are in a forum, you have to make sure that you're working with somebody that's giving you good information.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a fun one actually. I'm
Yep.
not gonna lie.
I've tried all of
It's
it.
exciting.
I have completely removed because every time it becomes active, that's when I do my diagnosis because it's so few
Yeah.
and far between. Like it'll become active, it'll stay active for a few days, and then I drive it around. It miraculously goes away, and then it won't come back for months. So it's not even like
Yeah.
it's an every day or every other day or whatever. It's when it does come active, that's when I take the time to try and diagnose it, and I
Yeah.
have completely removed my tuner from the truck. I tried that.
Yeah.
I tried fucking all kinds of shit. I tried removing every single aftermarket component I could on that truck. Besides,
Yeah.
obviously, I can't remove the turbo. But,
Right.
I had the resistor checked, and if the resistor was actually bad, you would think it would be a
Yeah.
constant problem, not intermittent. But
Right.
I don't fucking
No,
know.
it
And the
sounds like
guys at Industrial Injection that were helping me initially with this, they said they're like, well, this code is a problem, and sometimes it with the turbo that you have, it shouldn't be an issue, but sometimes your
mm,
ECM has a set parameter. of what it thinks the boost needs to be at for each RPM. And all it
Yeah.
takes is your boost being zero point 0.1 psi lower than what it thinks it should be, and it might flip that fucking code. And then
Yeah.
it might have to take drive time for it to clear. And I'm like, so he's like, honestly, if you can't find a physical boost leak, which I don't have, if you can't find anything wrong with your sensors, if you can't find anything wrong with your harness, the turbo is brand fucking new. That's obviously you don't have low boost, right? You don't actually
Right.
have low boost.
Right.
The only other thing you can do is take your ECM into a programmer and have them change those parameters a little bit so
Yeah.
it's has more play in it. And I'm like,
Yeah, the
son
threshold's different.
of a
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah. That sounds fun though.
It fucking sucks because it's like random. The first time it did it, I was driving to Ohio to go to
Oh God.
Hitachi, and it drove all the way there fine. And then on the way home, it was derated. So I could do 70 miles an hour, but it took me like 10 miles to get to 70 miles an hour.
Just like driving like a dog.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's fucking horrible. Because it
Oh
defuels my
God.
engine, right? So then
Yeah.
I definitely, now I do have a low boost problem because I don't have any fucking fuel. It's
Yeah.
really
Oh my
annoying.
God, Mia.
And I
That's
love
so
Diesel
funny.
laptops. Diesel laptops is a really good program. They have wiring diagrams that are really awesome for heavy duty, for equipment, for newer pickup truck diesels. But these
Yeah.
older Cummins trucks, they have the repair manuals in there. They have the repair specifications. They don't have shit for the electric. I'm like,
Ah,
it's
that's a
really hard to diagnose
bummer.
something where I can't, because I'm a very
Yeah.
visual learner. So if I
Right,
can't
right.
physically see and trace where the fucking wires are going, it's
Yeah.
hard. And I
Yeah.
can't
That
trust Google to give me the right pinouts for the fucking connectors and shit.
No, and that's kind of where I was going because like when I had to do continuity just to try to figure out well, like I knew my one of my VREFs like split off into other components and I literally had to go and touch every single thing that it possibly could have been. Um, and I when I put it all together, I'm usually wrapping everything as I go. So like I'll pin like this end and then build everything up and I'll wrap it as I go because I don't know. I have the confidence that what I'm doing is exactly as and I'm not gonna go back and rework myself to like redo it. But I'm telling you, like some of those moments like are incredible when you're trying to figure this shit out without a diagram, but it is
Yeah.
relieving when you do find that diagram and like you had different thoughts in your head, right? Like whether you said them out loud to anybody or you had them in your head, but like when you finally figure out and you're like, oh, all right, so I was right about this, or like I learned this, or whatever. Like when you figure that out, it's so relieving. But like the stress of trying to figure that out is kind of ridiculous when you don't have the
Yeah.
tools. And like I wouldn't even know what honestly that's really like essentially other than like the couple of things that I have dealt with. But I feel so privileged being able to have like the Cummins access and Cummins training and international and like all their stuff. Cause like just at a whim, like on I have everything like a connector numbers and pin numbers and
Yep.
everything that you want.
And if it's not
Um
there, you have the engineers to tell you.
yeah, you can call
Yeah,
the lines, all the hotlines and stuff like that, which is
I
I
feel
mean,
that.
it's awesome because I mean to have the support. I don't even know what it's like to work for a fleet really at this point because I've been
That's my
so
problem.
involved with dealership.
That is my biggest
Mhm.
problem. I honestly
Yeah.
think that is one of my biggest crutches I have. Is because
Yeah.
I have worked same just for John Deere. I've worked for a
Yeah.
dealership my entire career.
Yeah.
So I'm
And
used to
international.
having, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So it's such a
yeah, it's
privilege and yeah, I wouldn't even know. Like, all right, so I have a girlfriend that I've actually never met, but I mentor her, and she's been going through some hardship at her shop. Basically, everybody that comes through the door gets a laptop, gets trained, moves up in jobs, and she kind of doesn't have a laptop. Here, just take the spare one. And she's doing training, and she has her certifications. You know, she was able to do online training, but very stagnant and condescending. They would just be kind of like mean to her in a sense of like the ability bringing down her confidence, like her self-worth and confidence.
Did you tell her to
um
fucking leave?
yeah, I did. I definitely did.
I've told
She's been
women
working
that
this
a lot
for
of
years,
times.
and I'm like, yeah, she's moving on to a fleet from a dealership, and I'm so proud of her. And she went through a little bit of a process, like fingerprinting and stuff like that. She's working for a
Yeah.
school bus company, and they have hundreds of buses, and they're so excited to see her and have her come and join their team. It's just ridiculous. So like, and I told her, I was like, well, if they don't give you access to anything, just make sure you tell me, and just like send serial numbers, I'll send you anything you want. Because like, I don't know what it's like not to have that access.
Yep.
I wouldn't know what to do, really. Like, I mean, you
I'm
travel
the
never.
same. And that's like, because I'm trying to, what I want to do is start my own engine shop and my own performance shop.
Oh, that'd be
And
awesome.
the only problem with that, though, is I have been blessed with rebuilding my most recent engine that I've had diesel laptops for
Yeah.
my manuals and things like that. I don't
Yes.
really need the procedures, but well, the torque
The
sequences are
torch
really
specs. Yeah.
important, the torque
Yeah.
specs, the measurements of like, piston ring gap and things like that is really, really helpful. But
Hmm.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
If it's not a Cummins like
Hmm.
pre-emissions ISB or a fucking deer. I don't know what the fuck to do. And I can figure shit out. And when it's my own shit, it's not a problem, right? Because I can take as long as it takes to figure it out. It's whatever. But if it's a customer's truck,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would
It's
love to have
considering.
my own equipment shop, but I would like, what am I going to do without like the specialty tools and shit? And especially Deere makes it so fucking hard to do anything without even their tools. Like they have specialty tools for everything, and every part they make is designed for
Yeah.
those specialty tools.
Yeah.
It's fucking
I
ridiculous.
I do know that, like, I just went through some training, and I'm doing Allison training so I can do reprogramming. And my company has, like, it's so weird how they set all this up, right? So like, they won't give me my full access because it costs money for them to do that. So I still have to take my certificate, put it on them, and I can't have my own computer. We're a small shop, for that. But for all the international stuff through Snap-on and Cummins, it is a little bit of, I don't know, it's like maybe like a couple $1,000s or something a year. But people do have fleet accounts, which helps out a lot. Some people that I know, I don't like Penske and all the big companies. I'm pretty certain they have capability to program and such. But then there's like small shops that have fleet accounts that don't have capability to like program. So it definitely is like in your cards and in your future to get at least that stuff. Like, I know that for a fact if you ever work on that stuff.
Well,
But
I
I
need
think
it
that's
because
I think that's a
I need
great
to
idea.
fucking I really need to get my shit together with that. Like, but I don't know. I've told women like back to the girl thing. Like I've had a few women ask for advice and things like that, and I always tell them, I'm like, well, not every shop is going to be for you, and you can't
Yeah.
make them be for you,
Yep.
because if you try to pull the card of, well, I want what I want and you're not giving me what I want, and you're going to give me what I want, or I'm going to cause problems, it's not worth it. Don't do that.
Right.
Don't do
Right.
that. Just move on to another shop that sees your value in it, because if you
Yeah.
start trying to push your weight around like that to the point where you're threatening lawsuits and shit like that, it will ruin your reputation for the rest, whether it's warranted or not, it will ruin your reputation
Yeah.
for the rest of your career. Just move on to
Oh,
another shop.
it's not, it's Larry. So this is so real what you're saying. Okay. So I was getting sexually harassed in my shop. And I'm not afraid to talk about it at all. guy was asking me for BJ's and not appropriate. He was asking me for, what is it called?
Did you punch him in the face?
Advances. No, I
You should have
actually
punched him in
never.
the face.
So here was the problem. Like, so my daughter is was like probably like 17 at the time. So whatever happens to me at work, I kind of would be like, hey, like, because she was having bullying guys as well. We were literally living these like parallel lives of, I was getting bullied and harassed at work, and my daughter was getting bullied and harassed at school. And it was the
Yeah.
weirdest thing, and then I could totally relate to her, and it was the craziest thing in the world. But I actually had to reach out to a previous mentor to know how to handle this situation, because I actually didn't know. I thought that like saying no meant no. I meant like I would go and leave the shop and work outside. I thought that me being present would eliminate that harassment. No, they would just follow me out and go and corner me into trucks and stuff like that. It was getting to a point like I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. And I was embarrassed. And what if they don't believe me? And like, again, I don't want to cause problems. This is my job. This is my favorite place. Like, I don't want to lose my job. So like I had all those things run through my head. So I called this guy, and he was like, he's like, you need to first say that I didn't, you're making me feel uncomfortable and I don't want your advances. I literally learned how to say that in 2020. I don't know how old I was. I had to have been like 38 maybe in 2020, but it took me that many years to be taught that. I went
Yeah.
now home to like my 16-year-old daughter and said, hey, I was taught something in life that I actually was not taught until now. I'm going to just teach you this now.
Yeah.
And so you knew, because I thought advances were money. I thought it was money. I thought the word like cash
Advance on
advances.
your paycheck. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god, I was living under a rock. Um, but from that moment, I had to now address it with my company, and they were in shock. I had to get a video of it. It's a two-party state for recording, so I kind of already knew the laws. And I got a video of the situation happening and me saying no, and it continuing. Like, it was just, it was gross. And I'm not at my job to do anything but do my job.
Yeah.
So, I feel like there's a lot of this going on in the industry, and people really don't talk about it or know how to do it. Especially like I've been here, I'm 43, and like
Yeah.
just alone just diesel, I started diesel when I was 21, and I was doing auto prior to that. So in a different world, also, mind you, because the people were different back in the day.
Yeah.
um Women didn't have really rights essentially in the 90s, like, still. um
I mean,
but
they had them, but it wasn't it
yeah, not
wasn't
the same.
a
Like, I was,
it wasn't like, as frowned upon as it is now to go against those.
yeah,
Yeah.
like yeah, the times have definitely changed. But being able to show the video, which actually shocked my company, shocked everybody, because the person that actually was, now I had two people doing it, two different things, two at simultaneously, because I was totally a victim. Somebody seen me vulnerable, and then somebody was all, it was just a whole umbrella of harassment. It was gross. um and it was really hard to address with my company, and they were like, they sat me down and they were like, this is legal bounds for actually involving lawyers and doing legal stuff. And so I was like, well, I don't, that's not what I want. And I talked to
Yeah.
the mentor I had previous to the current mentor I have today. But I was like, hey, like, this is what they're talking about. He's like, oh, you don't want to be that girl. You want to, if they don't have something written, you need to work with your company and get that written if you want to stay there. Otherwise, go find other employment.
Yep.
And what happened was, is my company never had a woman in the shop. There was like really no need for certain things to be said in my shop when you're doing your handbook, because it wasn't written yet. And
Yep.
they rewrote the handbook because of this. They updated everything in the handbook because of this one situation. So and also the one person that was harassing me in one form, he left, and the person that was harassing me in another sexual form, he ended up moving on to another job. um but it was really nice to have my company support me, even though they like
Mhm.
really didn't know how to handle that stuff. And I don't think a lot of women know how to handle some of that stuff either. And when it's happening and stuff like that, like, when do I
Yeah.
leave my company? When,
Well, it's
I
a
was
double-edged
pregnant
sword.
with them. It
Yeah,
is, it's
it's a double-edged
horrible.
sword, and you got to be fucking careful because you can't barge in there and just expect change and ask to get him
Right.
fired and he has to fucking leave. You can't do that. And unfortunately, that's what
Yeah.
women nowadays are being taught to do.
Yeah.
If you
And
don't get your way and
it's,
it's something you don't
yeah.
like, you barge in there and you make it the way you want it.
Yeah,
That
we
you
we
can't do that,
settled
but you
on,
also can't
yeah,
just ignore it and let it happen. You
right.
got to
That's the
find the
word.
boundary. And I had a guy that the only one and only ever bad situation I've ever had was I went to a training with a man that was a lot older than me, but we went to a training in for deer together, and um we like had a shared car. We didn't have a shared hotel room, obviously, but we had like a shared car for the rental car and things like that. And we had separate credit cards, so like company cards or whatever to get our meals paid for and things like that. So it wasn't like a big deal. I traveled with coworkers before. This wasn't the end of the world. But he like got really drunk one night. Like we were both drinking at the bar with a couple of other people, and he got really drunk one night, and after we were all like swimming in the swimming pool and shit, like he tried to stalk me up to my room and tried to
Oh,
spent like fucking 3 hours trying to get into my room, to the point where I
oh
had to
God.
call the front desk, and I'm like, I understand that he is one of the people that is in my party, right? Because we were all together in this training.
Oh my
We were all in the
God.
same hotel room. And I said, this one particular guy, if he asks for a key to my room, don't give it to him because we are not on good terms. Like, this is not fucking good. Well, we get back. Well, he's like, you're gonna get me fired. Like, or he didn't say that, but he's just like, the next day, he's like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. He like apologized. And I'm like, I didn't even say anything to him. I'm like, did you really think that was appropriate?
Right.
First of all,
Holy
there
crap.
are other people in this hotel room that we traveled with. Second of all, what the fuck? Like, I'm here to learn and do my training. I'm not here to have, unlike you, who is married and apparently uses these as a attempt to cheat on your fucking wife.
That's,
Like,
both
what
are
the
fine, we're
fuck? Like,
married.
that's not my fucking
Yeah.
problem. If you want to go fucking be shady, you go do that yourself. Don't involve me in it. But
Yes.
like, so I get back and I'm like, I told my boyfriend at the time what happened. I'm like, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know what to do because I'm not going to be the girl that goes in there. I don't want to tell anybody. The only
Yeah.
reason I want to tell someone, because I handled it. He was terrified of
Yeah.
me. I handled it. The only thing I wanted to let them know is do not send a female with Anthony again. Don't
Yeah.
send a female, like, because I can handle myself. I told him to go fuck
Right.
himself. I told him off. I can handle myself. But like, what happens when an apprentice girl gets sent with him and she doesn't know how to
Right.
handle it? Like,
Yeah.
I don't
I
want that.
need.
So Matthew's like, well, you have to tell the boss. You have to tell him. And I'm like, I don't fucking want to because I know where this is going. I know where this is gonna go, and I don't want to do it. And
Yep.
Matthew's like, well, if you don't tell him, I'm gonna fucking tell him. And I'm like, fucking son of a bitch. So
Yeah.
I tell my boss, I'm like, I'm trying not to use names. I might have to cut those out. I told my boss, I'm like, can you meet, well, Matthew went in the office and he's like, can you meet us at this little like, food place? Melissa needs to talk to you. So we go there and I told Dave what happened. God damn it. I told my boss what happened. And I guess it doesn't matter at this point. I told Dave what happened and I'm like, I don't want him to get fired because of me. And
Right.
Dave was like, I want to fucking fire him, not just because of you, but this guy fucks shit up all the time. He's late to work all the time. He shows up drunk. He fucking does, he leaves early all the time. And I'm like, I do not want him fired because of me. Please don't. And he's like, you do understand that
Yeah.
because you brought it to my attention, I have to fucking say something. I'm like, please don't say anything to HR. Please, please don't. Please do not involve HR in this. I don't want to be that girl. Please, 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 please. And he's like, how about this? I have to talk to him. I have to. I'll talk to him. And he is going to apologize to you and Matthew because Matthew worked in the same shop as me. We'd been together for like, audience, we were together for like 5 years before we worked in this particular shop, okay? We dated long before we worked with each other. Okay, it's not like I dated my coworker. But he's like, he's going to have to apologize to you and Matthew before anything. If he has to, and if he won't, then he loses his job. And I'm like, fuck. Okay, I guess. So, the next day, dumbass backs a fucking dozer through the fucking partially opened fucking bay door of the wash bay because he showed up
Oh my
fucking
God.
like, we all assume drunk, right? There's no proof of it, but we're, backs a
No.
dozer through part of the fucking door of the wash bay. And Dave calls him in and he's like, look, and then Anthony quits, or he gets fired basically, and he was gone. And I'm like,
Oh my God. All right. Well, at least it wasn't on you. I do the same thing too.
yeah.
Like if
Well, I
there's
asked
a
Dave, I'm like, you
problem,
didn't fire him because of me, right? And he's like,
yeah,
we didn't even get to that conversation. He's like, I
yeah,
started talking to it. He's like, I was going to bring it up on my long fucking list of shit I don't like that he does. But I was like,
yeah.
we got through the fuck ups that he's been having lately, and then the unsafe work conditions he's creating for everyone else, and he walked himself out the fucking door. I didn't even get to you. I'm like, thank fucking God. Thank God.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's so crazy because like some women are haters of other women. I don't know. I kind of call them girls, and like women that respect women and support women, I call them women. And it's so weird because some girls really don't understand like the stuff that we deal with on a daily basis or even in different style moments and stuff.
They're not
Like
going to
it's
until they go through it. Because I was one of
yeah.
those women that you hate on, until it happened to
Ah!
me, and then I'm like, uh, well
Yeah,
then.
yeah, it's
Apparently you
it
can handle yourself
sucks.
like you're untouchable. And you
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
be a
it's
fuck,
it's
and
so
it'll
bad.
still happen.
Like, I'm not like
So,
this huge feminist or anything like that, but let me tell you what. My boyfriend makes my sandwiches and my coffee, two of them, every single day, and he packs my lunch. And
damn.
he has tattoos from his neck to his toes, to his fingertips. And he builds hot rods. And he is no way like a simp or a metro or anything. He's a
Hmm.
much an alpha, as much as I am an alpha. We bash sometimes. So, we live this crazy opposite lifestyle. And it's so funny because like there are some women they're like, oh, you shouldn't be in a man's world. Or I get comments like, thrown at me sometimes occasionally. And I'm like,
Usually by
what?
women too.
I was
People
like,
think it's the
aren't you
men
supposed to
that
be
hate
like,
it, and it's not, it's the women.
yeah. And it's crazy. And I've never really gotten to that mindset of like, why are they like that?
It's
But,
because you're pretty. It's
oh,
because you're pretty. They don't say shit to the girl. They don't say shit. You will never see a comment from another girl of, why are you in this industry? Oh my God, you're not a real mechanic. Oh my God, you're just doing it for attention. You will never see a girl comment that on somebody
oh
she doesn't
goodness.
think is more attractive than her.
There is some women that I follow online that I admire, and they're rocking it, and people are making these awful comments to them. I'm like, Jesus, they are real. How do you call them fake?
Well,
Like,
you're
or
confident in yourself. You don't need to tear down somebody else that's potentially doing better than you to make yourself feel better.
God, no, I just
That's the
actually want to
difference.
be. I'm like, I want to be next to you so I can
A
like
lot of my
learn
friends are fucking
everything.
hot. A lot of my girlfriends are hot. Like,
It's the
it doesn't
stereotypes
fucking,
broken.
yeah, like, Cubbins cowgirl, you,
Yeah.
Miranda, like all these fucking bitches that are my mutuals and my friends online, like all y'all are hot. But it doesn't mean I need to be like, oh my
Yeah,
god. No, that
right?
I'm like, that's my fucking friend.
Yeah, it's like,
Fuck
woman, you need
yeah,
to get
she's
under the
hot.
car with your husband and figure it out because you can't be knocking. Like, like
Right?
it's crazy. But that's it's one of my main goals. I actually just wrote an article. We were in two articles, by the way. I don't know if you know that. It was two articles that they spoke about you diesel
Me?
laptops. Yeah, yeah. So and they had mentioned, I think, Michael in there as well. But I was in, it was last month in September, July of this year, on Fleet Maintenance Magazine. And you also got a shout out and a link on your socials, by the way.
Really? I had
Yeah,
no idea. I had
yeah.
no idea.
Yeah, they were talking about different how to film inside of a shop and do training videos. So we were both mentioned, and I did an interview for that magazine in July. But I have a mentorship one that I just wrote and submitted, and that's being printed and published for this month on Fleet
That's
Maintenance
cool.
Magazine. Yeah, and that one's going to be for mentorship.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, I'm really excited about it because I it was like my first initial time that I was asked to actually like reach out and do interviews like a real
Yeah.
journalist. Like I was, if you want to talk about like changing jobs over, holy crap, like somebody gave me an opportunity that I sat in these shoes, and I'm like, oh my god, I get to come up with questions. I now have to find people to interview that are credible sources and reliable for me to be able to take what they say and put it into a story. So I'm really excited for this piece because it was kind of like the next level in
That's
writing
cool.
for me. So I'm really excited. But yeah, I talked about a girl in there, and I hope it makes it in. I'm still not sure what he cut out when he was editing because I kind of overwrite. They asked for like 1,200 words.
Yeah.
I like to give like 3,000 to 5,000. I can't help it. I'm not a journalist. I'm not somebody that is like, I'm just a mechanic, technician that is like giving me this opportunity, like, oh, we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
And so I talked about this girl. Her name is Sarah McCullough, and she works for Love's, kind of like a branch off of International, but down
Yeah.
south.
I know what Love's is. Love's
Yeah, and
trucking. Yeah.
yeah, Love's trucking. Yeah, and this girl, she is just a cute little petite woman, and she goes and she trains all these guys on big tires and differentials, and like she's like one of their top tier technicians. And it's
That's
like
cool.
it's really crazy to actually be able to talk to other people across the country to see like what's going on, because like when you're trying to see like mechanics or female mechanics or find mechanics, it's sometimes like hit or miss because again, like you have people that are just like, you want to change your oil and stuff like that, and then you have professionals, and then you have people
Yeah.
like you, where you're like, I have this problem, I've exhausted my options and I need answers, and like you need to dig through the medias and the
Yeah.
platforms to get to where you're going. But it's like incredible to be able to like talk to other women that like do this mentorship and such like that. So that was a pretty exciting thing to be able to incorporate as well. And the girl, again, like I mentor this girl, her name's Steph Trunk. She's really cool, and I've never met her. Like we're 300 miles away from each other. I'm dying to like meet this girl.
Yeah, that would be cool. We should have a like a nationwide meet in the middle.
I'm telling you, I would love. I want to do something, chapters or something, like just I don't know. I really do. I'm coming to your house soon. I know it.
I'm down. I'm a lot closer to you than a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, now you're even closer,
Mm-hmm.
so it should be easy.
Yep. Yep. If I can get Michael to figure out, uh,
Yeah.
I might just so I have keys to that shop.
Yeah.
So what I might do is be like, hey, like Michael, if you're really busy, I'll get you in when you have time and then fly you down here and then you and me can do our own shit um like on a weekend or something
Yeah. Yeah,
in
I
that
totally
shop.
want to. Oh, it's
Because
so
it's
funny
really
because
hard. I know like you're super busy and he's really busy. So it's really hard
yeah,
to find like a middle ground of like of that. But I'm sure Tyler would fucking love to have you in there and
yeah,
have you I
I
mean
would love
obviously
to.
Tyler's not going to be there, but
Yeah.
he'd be more than happy to have you on the Diesel Laptops team looking through his diagnostic shit and stuff like that. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would love to do that. I'm dying to see his laptop. I see people in my area and they do have them. But like I have never seen one in real life. I get to watch your videos and get to see some of the things that you look through and I'm dying to get into it and
I
just see
like
it.
the laptop a lot. The
Yeah.
tablet I haven't figured out how to use very well
Yeah.
because it's more like an app than it is a website, and that
Right.
fucks with me. But the laptop, I love the laptop. I like it. It has a VIN decoder where you can just type in your VIN and then it gives you all the manuals for that. And you
Oh,
don't have to
that's
like
awesome.
it's pretty nice. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I use
awesome.
that a lot for my truck rebuild to get the right engine shit because I mean obviously it's a Cummins and they're OEM so they don't have as many you know how much it blew my mind to do like look up the oil the oil pan specification to like torque sequence and shit for that engine
Yeah.
and there's like two options.
Yeah.
I'm used to there being like 14.
Yeah.
Like
Oh
have you ever
God.
tried to look up a fucking oil pan torque specification for a fucking ag tractor?
No,
Oh
but
my
I can
god.
imagine.
Well, first of all, most of the engines are bolted directly to the frame. They
What
don't
size
have oil
bolts
pans.
are those? Like they must be huge.
Well, they're bigger than oil pan bolts, obviously, but they're
Yeah.
yeah, they're bigger, but yeah, bolts. Most of the engines on ag tractors are bolted straight onto the front axle housing.
Oh wow.
So like they're in the whole or the front frame thing. And then like the transmission is bolted directly to that. And then there's a spacer housing. And then the fucking differential is bolted straight to that. Like or the pump drive housing. And then like it's all bolted together. Most tractors, except for the old ones or the smaller ones, don't even have frame rails.
Oh, holy crap. That's crazy.
Yeah, that blew my fucking mind the first time I looked at a fucking tractor too.
Oh my God.
Because even loaders have frame rails, right? Loaders have frame rails. Like even excavators have somewhat of a fucking frame, but like, yeah, most ag tractors don't, except for the big giant
Wow.
like articulating four-wheel drive ones. Those have frames,
Wow. Holy
kind of,
crap.
sort of.
Yeah, I can imagine it in my head. I'm like as you're putting all the pieces together, but I would never have
I'll
assumed
send you
that
a
it didn't have
picture of an
rails.
8000 series tractor I have split. It's
Yeah.
quite
Oh, totally do
literally
that.
engine, bolts to axle housing, transmission, right? Here's the engine, transmission bolts to that. And then you have spacer housing, right? Maybe another spacer housing, and then you have with the drive shaft going through it, and then you have the pump drive housing, depending on the tractor. Then you have a pump drive housing, and then you have the rear axle. So they're literally all bolted together. So if you have to do like anything, like if you have to do a transmission, if you have to do a like pump drive housing seal, because this is keep in mind everything is one like liquid fucking fluid reservoir.
Yeah.
There's
Oh
no
my God,
separate
that's
fluid
so
reservoirs.
insane. That's
Yeah.
insane to think
All the
about.
everything except the engine oil, obviously, is all hydraulic
Yeah.
oil and it's all in this giant hydraulic oil bath. So all these
My God.
housings connect. Like I don't think the spacer housing has oil in it, but it's got tubes, right, going to between them. So the transmission shares the oil, the axles share the oil, and the hydraulic is all shared the oil. It's fucking insane. It's ridiculous. So to do anything, you have to split the tractor,
Wow,
which
that
means
must be
pulling the
so
cab,
cool.
pulling the fucking fuel tanks, pulling all that shit apart, and then splitting it, and then sometimes splitting it again, which is crazy.
That's
I
crazy.
think it's fun, but I'm also psychotic and crazy, so I
Eh,
guess.
And all those pieces are so huge too, so it makes it like even more interesting. Like
I mean, we had
I
overhead
I never even
cranes,
thought of that.
so we just like pick it up and roll it.
Yeah, well, I seen one image which is like one of my favorite ones. It was just the perspective of you with the tire and the big crane holding the tire,
Yep.
and like it's huge, like the size of like a house.
Well, that's what, you know how many people have been like, I don't understand how you work on such big equipment. You're so small. And it's like, that's not hard to do.
Yeah.
The button on the crane is really easy to push. And everything is so big in the equipment industry. I think equipment's easier than semis, and this is why. Because everything is so much bigger on equipment that they don't expect you to be able to lift any of it.
Yeah. So you have
It's not
tools
even
for it.
expected. So you have lifting
Yeah.
tools and everything for it already. It's not even
Yeah.
expected for you to lift it.
You know,
Like,
that makes so much sense too.
yeah. So I think
Makes
it's
so
easier.
much sense.
I
Yeah,
mean,
because
equipment's definitely more complicated, but
oh yeah, with hydraulics
when it
and
comes to like the physical part of it, I think it's easier. No one
yeah.
expects you to lift a tire by yourself.
That makes
Like,
sense. It totally makes sense because that's exactly why I staying with trucks and versus going back down to cars. But
yep.
I work next to a 76 or 77-year-old guy, and he makes everything look easy, and he's actually doing the brakes and tires and air cans and fuel tanks, and he's doing all this stuff by himself, which is just insane. But he takes a motorcycle jack and he takes the drums on and off with a motorcycle jack, and he doesn't break his back, he doesn't do anything.
Yep.
And it's really admirable because like, I had the mindset that I had to be like every I had to like meet the standard. Like I always was the little girl in the group, and I had to keep up snowboarding, keep up surfing, keep up on my bike. Like I had to keep up with the boys in order for me to play with the boys. Like they were going to
Yeah.
leave me behind if I didn't stay up with them. And like I always kind of thought that like in the shop too is, well, I need to lift that drum. I need to lift that clutch. I need to lift this, right? To kind of be just like
Hmm.
them, right? And I started using a milk crate when I was removing drums off and on, and that was my tool until I found this guy Llama, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it was just a motorcycle jack." And I'm like, and I'm watching him take it on and off, and I'm like, "God damn it!" I was like, he's like, "Why would you?" He's like, "Look at you." He's like, "Why are you gonna go and lift a drum?
Yep.
What's the purpose behind that? Who are you trying to impress?" Like, and I'm like,
Yep. Well,
"Yeah,
I've
that's
found
actually
that
that's what it was, I guess."
the smaller mechanics and the older mechanics, the ones that physically can't do it, are always the ones that figure out how to do it faster and better because they
Yeah.
can't muscle through it. There's so many things that I've had to do, like engine parts, because you start getting into these engines, and even the water pumps are fucking heavy.
Hmm.
And I've done so much with some ratchet straps and some pry bars.
Yep.
Does anybody
Yeah.
else have to do it that way? No, they could probably just, but I can't. So I had to learn how to do it with ratchet straps and shit. And well,
Mhm.
I'm not completely fucking tore up either because
Yeah. Right.
I can't let I there was a guy that I used to work with at Four Rivers in Cheyenne, and he was ridiculously fucking strong. He did strongman shit, and he would just take like so you know how tractors have two tires? They have duals
Yep.
on each. So they have these, it's on a shaft, which it looks like a big like rack and pinion almost kind of shaft looking thing with notches in it. So that's what the axle shaft looks like. And then their hubs are clamp style hubs. So you can slide it anywhere on that axle and clamp it down to adjust the width of the tires or the space of the tires.
Yeah.
These things are like 250 fucking pounds. They're not light. On these big four-wheel drive tractors, they're fucking like this big. They're huge and they're heavy and they're cast iron. And this motherfucker would just lift them off and then put them on the ground. I'm like, you are gonna fuck your back up so hard doing that. I
Uh,
know that you lift at home and you do strongman competitions and shit like that, but that's gonna fucking hurt you. I mean,
yeah.
he did it, but it's like, I'm just gonna use the crane. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Overheads. Overhead
no
is the best.
thanks.
My best friend. Like
Yep.
I was pregnant and using the overhead head for lifting oil rails, something that I would regularly lift. I wasn't going to like take the chance to lifting certain weight. I lifted a lot of weight when I was pregnant, but certain weight I did not, like turbos and stuff like that. And the
Yeah.
overhead crane was awesome. And again, it's just like if you know how to strap it correctly, you can push a button. We're all good.
Yep.
Like
I've saved a
it's
lot of
not
time with the crane because I've learned how to just, instead of trying to take things apart piece by piece by piece, I just
yeah.
take an entire fucking things apart with the crane.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I don't take turbos off of the exhaust manifold if I don't have to.
Yeah.
I lift it
Yeah.
all off with the crane and I leave it
Yeah.
all bolted together. Like,
Oh, I love that. It's crazy how easy it is when, you have these tools, of course, but you still got those people in the shop still, even though you have, some people that show good, behavior or not, but I don't really lift anything in my shop. It's funny because like I get a lot of those comments because if I'm installing a drive shaft and some of the drive shafts are heavy and some of them are light. So like with the light ones, I do straddle position because it's just easier for me to work around the shaft and it's just a comfortable position period for me to
I
be
use
in.
my feet for shit too.
Oh no, the I that's the only way I can break some of my transmission lines free. Like
Or
is
even
only by
lifting things like drive lines. You know how, like, they are heavy.
you like
So I use my knees and my feet, yep, to hold it up there.
yeah, I gotcha.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I was doing that on a heavy one, and I my parts guy gave me the wrong strap kit. So I'm sitting there and I'm like up there like what the fuck, and I'm holding the fucking thing and are you fucking
Why?
kidding me? Why can't I get this? And I'm like, yeah, I had to use the old strap kit because like I had thought about it midway that I was upside down, and I'm like, he must have gave me the wrong thread. Like that's the only, like I can't be this incompetent to fucking spin a bolt on. And lo and behold, I was like, wow, I can't even believe I gave myself extra 5 minutes to fight that. Like
I've been there. I've been there. I've done, yep. I've done a lot of stupid shit though. So,
yeah, those, I mean, fun moments, like a frustrating and fun moment. I mean, if you can get a good laugh at yourself, I mean, that's like the takeaway. I don't like to redo stuff. That's like one of the things
yeah.
I don't like
Yeah,
doing.
I don't either.
Um,
We've all had to, but yeah,
yeah,
it sucks.
yeah. Like yesterday, so I diagnosed the same Cummins one with the little air box. I
Mhm.
diagnosed the injectors, and so they ended up passing off the injector replacement to another technician. And I was like, oh shit, they didn't get the serial numbers on the new injectors. And so I had to have him pull them back out and the truck ran. And then when he went to go put them back in, the truck didn't run. And then we found which one, because you have to put the injector in and the tube at the same time, like
Yep.
same, you have to match them up.
Injector, tube, and then you torque your injector, torque the tube.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yep.
something wasn't lining up, and he finally he got it, and I was like, nothing like getting paid to practice once you got it right, right? And just trying to make some light out of it because I felt so bad for the guy. I was like, wow, I definitely wouldn't want to be in his position right now because he nailed this. He was so good, solid repair. It was pretty quick and done perfectly, torqued to spec. And then I'm like, so did you grab those numbers?
So the cool thing about John Deere injectors, by the way, is they have the numbers on the side like those, but they also have they have these little plastic tabs on the top of the injectors with a QR code that you can
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
scan and gives you all the information.
I was trying to scan mine and mine wasn't opening, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I ended up just taking pictures and putting it through with the claim. I'm like, here you go. Yeah.
Yep, fucking have that. Have at it. Yeah. I've had my fair share of fuck ups. I learned the hard way that it's important to want to make time on something, and that's a good quality to have. But when it's your very first year in the industry, you should probably be focusing more on to learning how to do it right.
Mhm.
Then I I've assembled things before, and then part of it is still laying on the countertop that I have to. I'm like, fuck, that's definitely supposed to be in there. Like, I've broken the very first backhoe transmission I did. I broke the pump shaft because I had the transmission bell housing and the engine bell housing going up, and they were so close. It like that much left. And my dumb ass, I knew better, but my dumb ass was like, whatever, I'll just tighten the bolts. I'll just tighten the bolts and drive it up. Well, it went up there and it broke the ears off the transmission pump, so I had to take the transmission all the way back out. And I didn't know it until I started it and it had no hydraulic pressure. And I'm like, because the hydraulic pump is bolted to the back of the transmission, and if the transmission shaft is
Oh,
broken, the hydraulic pump isn't turning. Fuck. So I had to do that job pretty much again, completely again.
that's awesome.
I got really good at it though. The second time I took that transmission out and put it back in was like half the time of the first time I did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've fucked up my fair share of stuff. Or
Oh.
the the whole you get it disassembled and then you go to put it back together and you're reading the instructions and it's like using the marks you made during disassembly and you're like,
Oh, that's the best.
fuck. Is there
So
instructions if you didn't make the marks?
what happens now? What do we do? No, I
Yep.
had an Eaton Precision transmission, and they're little tiny transmissions. Like if you were like, it's like a 1000 2000 series to a transmission in Allison. But Eaton, and it's really such a beautiful transmission, but nobody likes them. The pumps end up going on them, and that is the biggest failure in this transmission. It's been discontinued. However, in my time of this transmission, I was removing the rear housing and I have to remove all the rear gears. I had never removed gears ever in my life. I bent the fork, like I bent the actual like rod that held all the gears on, and I saw it bend, but I didn't know that it was actually bent until after I took the transmission out. I rebuilt everything, put it all back together, installed it, and the back cover just wouldn't fucking line up. I couldn't get it on. And some kid came over and he has big hands, and he was very narcissistic and needed to inject himself into something that I was pretty much what he thought in his eyes incapable of doing by myself.
Yeah.
So he ended up jamming that cover on to where I wasn't able to calibrate it, and there was something wrong, and I had to go back and forth with Eaton, and I had high sped everything that I ever did because they kind of said, here, you're doing this, that's it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, so I have
All
to look
right.
at the computer and teach myself and stuff like that. So I high sped everything because I'm like, well, if I'm doing this, I'm going to be able to watch myself hindsight and see where I went wrong, where I can save time in the
Yeah.
future. And yeah, I ended up bending that whole manifold, and they gave me the entire manifold. So I took apart this transmission and I fell in love with it, and I built it from ground up. And I can meet the SRT time. They don't give you much to do it, but I can meet the SRT time now. But one great thing that happened is I put it all together, and my boss mentor came up to me and said, "Oh, great. You're ready. I'm going to put the clutch drum in." He's like, "Let me help you do the clutch drum. I'm going to flip your transmission upside down so you can just drop it in instead of trying to push it in sideways."
Yeah.
Because it kind of needs to float a little bit because there's little tiny bearings and these like little tiny like just things that just I don't want to break. So I'm like, sure, okay. So he flips the transmission and sits it down, and he goes to put a nut on to hold it so it doesn't fall off on this little bracket that he had made. Drops the fucking thing right down right down the front of the transmission, through the little bell housing, through the oil passage, right into the freshly new transmission I just freaking spent 14 hours building. I was like, But I had rebuilt this transmission now, like in, several times because of the situation that I had been into, got myself into in the first time around. And I was like, I have an idea. And I flipped it around and I ended up dropping out like the valve body assembly, the MTM. And
Hmm.
and that ended up, I was able to get my nut out. But without the experience of having this genuine mess up of bending this rail and then having to be forced like 4 or 5 times, literally taking this transmission in and out because you can't calibrate it until it's in.
Yep.
um I never wanted to rework ever again in my life. I never want to do that much work for one job again in my life. The lessons were so hardly learned. But in that one moment that he dropped that nut, and I was like, here we go again. But I was able to do it, and that was like the moment where I'm like, wow, I really needed to have that hardship, I guess, to learn some
Well, that's
sort
how
of
you
like
learn because you're
confidence.
never gonna make that. You're never gonna fuck that up again.
Yeah, no, and I won't let anybody come near my work with nuts. Like, keep your
So
nuts
my dad
to
had
yourself.
this. He knew this old cat mechanic named Skip Moss, and when he worked at the dealership at Caterpillar, he literally had a spray painted line around his bay because he built engines, and you were not allowed to cross his line unless you had permission, and you were being watched because like he didn't want anybody touching his engine shit, he didn't want anybody moving his engine shit, he didn't want like right like he literally had a fucking line that he spray painted on the floor around his shit, and they're like, you don't fucking cross this shit unless I tell you you can.
I love that. I tried to do that when I went on maternity leave, but the guys were messing with me and sending me videos, and I would spray paint the wheels like on the ground on a line, and yeah, they started pushing my stuff around, and I'm like, I can't get a break. But
Well,
I should have
the,
done that, like a big line around.
yep. Don't cross this line. It's a no touching zone.
Oh my god, that's crazy. This is so
But it
funny.
makes sense. Like it works. I mean, I never worked at dealerships to where like for the most part, the dealerships I worked at, the guys would fuck with you. They fucked with everybody, right?
Mhm.
Like there's just an atmosphere of a shop, right? If you work there, you're gonna get fucked with unless they don't like you. But
Yeah.
um
Yep.
I never once had anybody actually fuck with my parts I had on a table or something like that
Oh god, that would
to
be
mess with
wrong.
me on something I was doing. Unless they would walk by, what made sure I was looking, and then they would just put it right back down where they found it. And it's like, but I never once had anybody move anything on me. So that's good. They knew
I got
better, I
ragged.
guess.
I got ragged. I was rebuilding a turbo on a DT466, and I had the entire turbo apart, and they went and stuck rags in every freaking thing that they could stick rags in. And I was like, I come back from break, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And like I didn't understand because the guys that I was working with at the time, currently that time, they were like pranksters and they would do stuff like
Yeah.
that. So like they put cream pies, like boxes of Little Debbie cream pies on my toolbox. They literally covered my toolbox in cream pies as a
I would have
joke.
walked in and been like, I get to eat all these, right?
I did, and you know it. You know I ate those.
You
I
guys
was
think
living off
this is a
those.
joke, but thank you for the free food.
Yeah, joke's
I had a
on you. I like the
salesman
taste of these.
I had a salesman at the last construction dealership I worked at, and he figured out because I was the only shop mechanic. So if he knew for a fact he was bringing me some fucked up, stupid ass fucking shit, like he wants to put a thumb on a fucking excavator, and that thumb doesn't go on that fucking excavator, but I gotta make it fucking work, right? Like he knew. He's like, I'm gonna bring her breakfast burritos from the Mexican restaurant or donuts, right? Like he knew how to like looking back at it, I was like so happy to get breakfast burritos and donuts and things like that. And now I'm like, that motherfucker just found the cheat code to me. He, he knows
Yes.
about the cheat code because he knows I'm not going to tell him no, and I'm not going to have, like, I'm going to fucking get it done for him if he gives me free food.
Yes.
I was the
That's
only shop
awesome.
mechanic, so he'd be like, "I bring you breakfast." He'd bring me breakfast burritos and donuts and shit. Or like my boss would buy donuts for for everybody, right? And
Yeah.
anybody in the shop, all the managers in that little tiny shop knew Melissa likes to eat donuts. So we only had like 5 or 6 people working in that fucking shop, but they would get like 24 donuts because they knew I would eat more than 2. Like I needed more than 2 donuts. So they would get a fuckload of donuts and everybody else would have like 1, maybe 2, and then the rest were mine. I have no idea how I didn't get fat, but I didn't.
I bolt to the donuts when I hear that they're. I'm like, I want my honey dipped donut.
I love donut. Well, you're built just like me. It doesn't matter what the fuck you eat.
Yeah, it just goes away.
Yep, it just goes somewhere. I don't know, not
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, no, I definitely burn off the energy. Like it's funny because I crave my 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches a day that my boyfriend makes me. But it's funny. I actually feel my brain shutting down like in certain parts of the day because I'm like, oh, I need my peanut butter. I
Yep.
don't know why. I think that it's like my brain food or something, but
Well, it's also
I'm like,
carbs. Carbs and
yeah.
protein. And your brain needs carbs and protein. Do you know the saying that the laziest mechanics are usually the best?
Really?
I had a boss tell me that. And it's not lazy in an aspect of they don't want to do the work
Yeah.
or they don't show up. But if you think about it, the lazy mechanic always finds the easiest and fastest way to do something. Because I'm sure you've met the fucking guys that are like, I don't care how hard it is, I'm gonna power through it. And like, then they don't,
Yeah.
like, if they would have just sat back and thought about it for a second, they probably could have
Yeah.
figured it out a faster way of doing it than just manhandling
Yeah.
it. But okay. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm gonna put that in my back pocket.
Tell your
Oh,
boss that the next time. Like, the laziest mechanics are the best mechanics. Just
I'll be like,
saying.
in house, so I'll be like, oh, it's easy guy.
Well, I will do an extra, whatever, the ending.
Okay.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add before I do that?
No, no.
I mean, I'm sure we could sit here for another 3 hours, but I
Yeah,
don't
we
know if
totally
everybody
could.
else wants to sit here for another 3 hours.
Yeah, we totally could. Yeah, until next time.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys for coming to my podcast. Thank you for being a guest on my podcast. Hopefully, I can get you in a shop in person to do some explaining of electrical diagnostics. I really, really, really want to do that. So, yep.
Yes, definitely.
Well, you have a good day,
Yes, you
and
too. It was fun. Thank you so
I
much for
will
having
send
me.
you all of my stuff.
Okay. Yes. Yum. So excited. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.